Hello everyone. In this video we're going to be rectifying a few charts that are on Astro Data Bank. Most of them are collected by the astrologer Juan Estadia. Now here I have a few people whose charts I want to rectify. So I chose this Camilo Sesto, or Camilo, I don't know how you pronounce his name. Now the reason for this video is just the demonstration of the techniques, so that people can see how horoscopes are actually rectified in the topocentric system. So I will just demonstrate a few techniques and show you how horoscopes are rectified, and I'll explain them as we go along. Attempting to rectify a few horoscopes, and I hope I'm successful. So let's start. I mean, this person, he caught my attention. He's a singer, songwriter, music producer, composer of romantic pop. We can see from his horoscope the interest in music, the 4 placements in Libra, which is an artistic sign, Venus in the 1st house. This is not favorable for the health of the kidneys. Okay, so the first step that we take is we collect a list of events. So let's collect a few events for Mr. Camilo or Camillo. Okay, so let's look here. Before we plug in the dates that I found, I only found these dates. Maybe someone who is Spanish could find more, but these are the ones that we are going to work with. But before we jump into the rectification, now in the beginning I said there's weakness in the kidneys because of the emphasis on these signs here. He actually, Wikipedia says that he died from kidney failure. Of course, Libra is the sign related to the kidneys. He also gets a liver transplant. Venus is in a bad cosmic condition. This is related to his kidneys in the 1st house. But the liver transplant, the Jupiter, which is related to the liver, is in conjunction with Mars in a damaged cosmic condition. But here we can also see weakness in the lungs and in the heart. Now, you look here at the Saturn in Leo. He had an illustrious career, very successful. I mean, here it says, sold over 180 million copies by 2019. Look at the sextile from the Sun, Moon, and Mercury to the midheaven. The ruler of the midheaven is entwined to the Sun and Mercury. Very important. Now, I haven't rectified this horoscope before, nor have I looked at a previous rectification done by someone else. And Camilo says to born at 10 a.m. Before rectifying the time with primaries, what I like to do is I would check with transits. Now this is for the date of his death. Okay, these are transits. Now what do we see? Neptune in the 6th house, mainly the opposition to the 12th, but the Neptune in aspect with this axis through a conjunction. We see the square of Pluto to the ascendant. Mercury and Venus in conjunction with the 12th. The south node, Saturn in square to the ascendant. Now what I deduce from here is that most likely he was born before, because you need to bring this axis here down to Neptune, and you need to bring the ascendant down to Saturn and the south node. so that we can make the orb tighter. Now the orb that we use is 6 degrees and 30 minutes max. Now this is just one event. Let's look at the event where his son goes into the hospital. Okay, well, this is a transit we do not expect. We have Jupiter on the house related to children. Yeah. Let's look at converse transits for this event. Uranus opposing the IC, the square of Neptune to the IC. Pluto square, but it's a bit. See, this is 25. This square is out of orb almost. So if we bring this house down a bit by choosing by moving the time backward, this aspect becomes tighter. Liver transplant. Now converse transits are just like direct transit, but you move backward in time. Now I don't have the day for the liver transplant. What do we have here? We have the square of Uranus to the 8th house. Of course, the 8th house is related to surgery. Inducted into the Hall of Fame. Let's look at direct transits here. Now this is a transit that happened after his death, which can work. Now you can see Jupiter is in conjunction here with the ascendant, but here we need to increase the time. You can see the sextile of Pluto. Let's plug in our information here to. Now the thing I deduced here just from the time of his death is that we can work with a plus minus 30 minutes. I mean, the real birth time can be found in plus minus 30 minutes. Okay, so let's. What is our base time? Our base time is 8. So I would begin looking here at our table of rectification peaks at times that are close to our base time. So here we have, this is 40 minutes plus 40 minutes. This is minus 55 minutes. Not interested in this. No, but maybe I'll check it, but I don't think it's the real time. Here we have the angle to planet, and here planet to angle aspects, very important in topocentric primary directions. Let's look at this time here. 7:59, 36. Birth of Sun. Fine, this is okay. Secondaries, also fine. This is a bit weak for liver transplant. This death. And the moon goes from here to here. Excuse me, the 12th house goes from here to here. Opposition. hospitalization of Sun. Mars is in sextile to the 5th house. Here Saturn is squaring the 5th house. I mean, this is a Jupiter sextile Uranus. This is an interesting time, but for the date of his death, I mean, these are very interesting aspects. 7:59, 36, and this is a time that I would consider and check again with different techniques. Let's check here. 7:52:44. Birth of Sun. I'm looking here to like conjunctions or oppositions with this event to the 5th house, or appropriate aspects like the Sun in sextile to the 5th house, like we saw in this time. For the date of his death here, maybe it's debatable, but I'm not sure about this time. I just don't feel that it's the correct time. Let's do one thing. We can check here with solar return aspects, both direct and converse, for the date of his death, since this time gave us good results, 7:59:36, and we apply a 1-degree orb. Okay, so this does not, we need to go back 1 year. Okay. What do we have here? And here I'm looking at conjunctions and oppositions. I mean, this 2 degrees off. Okay, so nothing appears, but this square from Pluto to the ascendant is interesting. Look here at the square. It's below 1 degrees. Let's look at this time, 8:16 or 8. It's just not convincing. Okay. Now this time here, see? Okay, this is very... This is important, because it rivals the time that I had. But this is... Okay, so I have a wrong date here for the Hall of Fame. This becomes different. One, two. Okay, I mean this makes a bit more sense. Oh, for the date of his death. Now what needs to be done to really find the time, we need to check every single one of these. Or almost most of them, but I'm pretty sure it's between this and this. Maybe some other time can compete, like... And this is too far off. There's no direction for the birth of the sun that touches the 5th house. There's a sextile or trine from Jupiter to the IC. I don't think so. Okay, so one important transit that I just noticed is this converse transit for the date of his death. Look at this Pluto in conjunction with the Pluto and the South Node, Saturn on the IC, this South Node opposing the 8th house, Pluto in conjunction. So what we probably need to do is just increase the time. See, this is it. I mean, this square here to the ascendant, maybe, I believe it's still an orb. Now what we need to do now, since we have 2 different times, see, it's still an orb, but this time gives very nice results with primaries and secondaries. Now you need to remember that we are working with limited events. Birth of Sun, trine from the 5th house, trine from Mercury, sextile of the Sun to the descendant, ascendant in conjunction with the Sun. Even this square, okay, it's not very... This is important, even though the orb is a bit excessive. The sextile from the IC to Jupiter, the hospitalization, I mean, here one, this is a bit too far. But there's a conjunction of the 12th house with Pluto. This is a regressed to regressed aspect. Death. Midheaven moves to a conjunction with... I am very happy with this result. The ascendant moves to a sextile with Mars. If this moves in converse motion, so it moves this way, and as it's moving this way, it sextiles Mars. What else? The trine from the Sun to Saturn, health problem, okay, but this is a bit excessive. It can work. Now the issue in the Hall of Fame. It's okay. Here the trine, excuse me, the trine, the sextile. Let's check. Let's check, but let's actually use... Okay, let's check the events now with the progressed sidereal solar returns. Libra 26, if we use this time. Just checking here my... okay, it's correct. Scorpio, 19 Sagittarius, 42. Okay, let's check our events here, because this time looks very promising. Venus 0, Jupiter. Neptune is in sextile to the 5th house. We saw this aspect earlier. Okay, no significant aspects aside from the sextile of Neptune. It's something, it's not nothing. Liver transplant. Venus 0, Saturn. But here what we need to confirm the time, we can't look at interplanetary aspects, we need to look at aspects to angles and intermediate house cusps, and here nothing. There's a square from Jupiter to the midheaven, possibly an interruption in his professional activity due to the operation. Death, Mercury. Look here, look at the moon here. This is exceptional. The moon opposes the 8th house. Mercury entrined to the 8th house. Mercury opposing the... Neptune squares the IC when his son gets hospitalized. The south node is in sextile to the 5th house. Mercury opposes the descendant. It could need more work this time. We need to maybe check more, but for me, I'm very satisfied with this result. 80428. Now, one of the main aspects that led me to select this time. Let's look again. Is what for his death. There is a converse transit from Pluto to the 8th house, which is very indicative. See here, the south node opposing the 8th house, and on top of that we get the moon, as we saw, opposing the 8th house. Now I don't know if it appears here, because here we only get two types of it doesn't appear. We get only two types of progressed sidereal solar returns. There are actually 4. So it doesn't appear here. It's we can see it here in the other sidereal solar returns calculated by Alexander Mars Astro. Now if we look at the base time, or let's look at this other arrival time, which is half a minute before the recorded birth time. About half a minute before. 7:59. Look. Okay, it's 3. It's far away. It's farther away. Saturn is farther away from the IC, farther away from the ascendant. 1 degree, about 1 degree. What we get also with this other time is the square of Neptune. The square of Neptune to the IC. But anyway, this is the birth time that I would use for Camilo. 80428. Although we can check more. If we would do like a thorough check, we would have to analyze most of these, and then we would have to check them with PSSR and the other techniques that I showed. But here, look here, the damaged cosmic condition of these, the square of Mars to the midheaven, and the damaged cosmic condition here of Saturn, they do not, although they do create problems in the profession, they do not produce a downfall. And the reason for that is there is a sextile from the Sun to the midheaven, 37 minutes, sextile of Mercury, sextile of the Moon, the good position of the ruler of the midheaven, the Moon, sextile, trine. But what caused him to die in his early 70s, the square of the ruler of the ascendant, Venus, to Saturn. Saturn is in Leo. Very powerful square. The conjunction of Mars in Libra with the ascendant, the Sun and Mercury on the 12th house, the emphasis on the sign of Libra, although it gave him his talent. We can look here, we can just analyze his life quickly. Liver, pancreas, spleen. Now the liver is ruled by Jupiter. It's in a house sensitive to health and in conjunction with a malefic in a damaged cosmic condition. Gets liver transplant. Composer. The composition. The planets, the emphasis on Libra, Venus in the first, the North Node and Uranus in Gemini, even the part of fortune here in the ninth house. You can see the connection of Uranus and Mars, innovation. Recorded songs in Spanish, English. This is primarily related to Uranus and Gemini on this axis. Also Jupiter in the first house. The foreign languages. And the Hall of Fame, of course, his millions of records sold, his illustrious career, and his professional success, which wasn't denied here by Mars or Saturn in their aspects, because the midheaven is supported, as we said earlier. Now let's search for another example here.